Hello there. This is January the 17th, 2023. I have another question about the subject of tithing. This one comes from Doreen in Texas. And this is in 1 Timothy chapter 5, verses 17 and 18. In 1 Timothy chapter 5, verse 17, it says, "Let the elders who rule well be counted worthy of double honor, especially those who labor in the word and doctrine. For the scripture says, 'You shall not muzzle an ox while it treads out the grain, and the laborer is worthy of his wages.'" All right, so what he's saying here to Timothy is that those who are elders in the church, who are doing work for the people of God, especially when it comes to the idea of presenting the Word of God and doctrine, teaching, guiding, counseling, those kinds of things, that they should be compensated for the time and the effort that they are putting into the work that they are doing. Paul tells that to Timothy, suggests that this is something that should be incorporated into the community of believers that Timothy is facilitating. All right. And I think that there, can definitely be a place for this. Of course, I am compensated for the work that I do, have been for a long time. And so there's definitely a place for this. It doesn't mean that if this is not done, that there's something evil taking place, or that the person is being taken advantage of in some way. There can be a place for people to volunteer to do this also. In my own personal life, I would say that during the times when I was not being supported by donations that people would share with me, then I still did what I could, but that was, of course, very much limited because, I have to work. I have to do other kinds of work in order to support myself and to meet my obligations and to take care of those who depend on me. So it's necessary in order to do that, and that would limit the amount that I could do. But it didn't mean I didn't do anything. It just meant that what I was doing was less. When I was supported fully by that and I could let go of most everything that I was doing outside of the ministry, then I could certainly do much more, And that, to me, is a way of understanding this and understanding the purpose of supporting someone who is doing the work of the ministry in that context. All right, now what I think needs to also be considered is, what are they really doing? What are they really doing? If you've got someone who is just going around teaching people to live a life of repentance and obedience in accordance with the law, all right, either the Mosaic law or part of the Mosaic law or whatever, if they're not guiding a person in accordance with the new covenant and with the grace of God, I wouldn't support them with anything. I just wouldn't. If you've got someone who's a leader or an elder in the church who is presenting the word and presenting doctrine, and those things that they are presenting are not consistent with the new covenant, then of course do not support that work. Okay, the reason why there is so much of it is because it's supported. That's the deal. I would say that percentage-wise, the relative percentage work that I am doing in comparison with others, if I was to look at the radio ministry, in terms of the radio broadcasting, I'm doing maybe 5%. Effectiveness in comparison with the other ministries that are broadcasting on the same radio stations. I fit in about 5%. 95% of the giving that is taking place is being given to people who are teaching stuff. For the most part, they're teaching stuff that is not consistent with the new covenant. 95%. If it was the other way around, then you would have a lot more obviously, you would have a lot more people believing and trusting in the new covenant than you would have in the old, I would expect. So relatively speaking, where people are giving has a lot to do with what's being promoted, with what's being taught, with what's being presented to people. And if it was the other way around, if 90% of the giving that was taking place was given towards myself or to other people who can teach the new covenant as well, I'm definitely not the only one, if it was given to people who really are teaching the old covenant to others, then you would see a significant change in the Christian world. You just would. It would be quite different. All right. And so it's not just a matter of what you give, but it's to whom you give and what kind of activities they are involved in. Okay. Now, there's other reasons why people give. It's not just about teaching the word. There are churches, for example. And it turns out that a lot of these churches, they're not really structured for the purpose of discipleship and of giving the word, and of teaching doctrine. That's not really what they're there for. They do a little bit of that, but for the most part, what they are really there for is to be what I would call religious entertainment centers. Okay? And, there's a place for that, I suppose. I'm not going to condemn that. But people can give for that if they want to give for that, if they want to give for a religious entertainment center and for the leaders, the elders, to be operating this religious entertainment center. These people, they don't need to know the Lord. They just need really good administrative skills. That's what they need. They need to be a good administrator. Who cares what they're teaching on their sermons? That doesn't matter. We just need somebody who can raise money, someone who's got good administrative skills, who can manage the staff, provide for childcare and nice events, and who can put on a good concert, in terms of the music program. A lot of churches are evaluated according to their praise and worship service more than what their sermon is presenting. All right. And if people want to give towards that, then, hey, by all means, they can do that, and I certainly wouldn't condemn it. I would just want people to understand what they are really giving for. And if they're understanding that and they're okay with that, that's what they want to do, then, hey, that is what they do. They can do whatever they want with their own currency, with their own money. They can do whatever they want. They should be allowed to do whatever they want with what is theirs. Okay? But who you give to does make a big difference in terms of what you want to accomplish, to whom you give to. Now, this idea of muzzling the ox while it treads out the grain, that's a big deal. It really is. If a person is trying to do the work of the Lord in terms of presenting the word and doctrine and teaching and guiding and counseling and helping people to know the Lord, if they don't have the resources that they need in order to do the work that is available for them, they're effectively muzzled, and I'll be honest with you. I have felt that way on a number of occasions. I'll be honest that I just feel muzzled. There is a lot that I can do, but no, I got to stop. I have to walk away. I have to abandon helping people know the Lord. I have to abandon that because what do I got to do? I got to go and ask people to donate to the work that I'm doing. I have to abandon it. I have to walk away because I got to go ask for money. Look, folks, I need some more resources in order to keep broadcasting on this station. Otherwise, we're going to cancel the contract. We do that. We cancel radio station contracts. There's a lot that I do that ends up that way that I just simply have to walk away. I can't reply to correspondence. I just don't. It just gets put aside and then eventually forgotten because I just can't do it. I don't have the funding to be able to do that. Instead, I got to go spend time looking for funding, or I have to give up on looking for funding, and that I do not have the personality for fundraising. I just don't, if I have a choice between asking people to give so that I can go work, which is what that is. I have to ask people to give so that I can go work, or, maybe I should just go do some work outside of the ministry. To me, it can be a little bit more appealing to just go go do some other work somewhere else, of some kind, and just get paid for labor, or produce something that I can sell and sell that. Sometimes it could be a little bit more appealing to do that than to go through all the disappointment and rejection of asking people to fund the work that I would like to do. That's muzzling the ox. Okay, that's what it means to muzzle the ox, to do that. Now, there is also some potential problems with this idea of the ox, all right? There's some potential problems because the way that it is said here, and this is 1 Timothy chapter 5, verse 18, do not muzzle the ox while it's treading out the grain. This could imply that whatever the ox wants to eat of the grain, let him eat, And this could be misapplied. I will call this misapplied, to say that whoever the elder is, if there's money there that's been donated, let him have however much he wants. Whatever he wants, whatever he needs, says he needs, or whatever he would like in order to have a certain standard of living that would appeal to him. As long as there's room in his stomach, let's just go ahead and fill it up. This is an open-ended idea that I think could be very hazardous and could be very problematic. You could look at certain ministers or preachers. You can look at their ways of life and say, well, gosh, look at their lifestyle. They've got a home that's probably 3 or 4 times the size of the home that most people have. They go on vacations. They travel the world. They're always going to this cruise or trips to Israel. All that kind of thing. And we just would expect that they would have this certain kind of lifestyle that that they would have if they had an abundance, and if people want to do that, that is their thing, that's their business. I won't place judgment on those things, but there needs to be some element of restraint, and there needs to be some definitive limitation and some definition of what really is the compensation for that. Okay, now who decides that? That's something that people need to work out. All I can do is say that this is a topic and that I don't think it's a good idea to just leave this open-ended and to say that, as long as the guy's got room in his stomach, let's just keep filling it. Because, some people's stomachs are bigger than others, and some could just somehow grow to be bigger than others, if I was to use that abstraction. There's always something that you can buy. There's always something, and to say that it's just going to be unlimited until the ministry treasury is empty, I don't see that, all right? I just don't see that. I myself, I've always been very careful with the compensation that I receive, why and how much. I've always been very careful about that. I really do live and have always lived this way, that every donation that somebody gives towards the work that I am doing is holy. It is absolutely holy, and it needs to be treated in that context. I've always done that, and I expect I always will. I don't see how I could think of it otherwise. So, when I make these kinds of decisions, I'm very careful with making these kinds of decisions, and I don't make them by myself. I just don't. All right, so I hope that this is helpful in the context of the subject of tithing and giving. This is for 1 Timothy chapter 5, verses 17 and 18. If you have any other questions for me that you'd like to ask me, and maybe I could give you a point of view or a perspective that you never considered, then you can send them to me directly by email to aaron@aaronbudgeon.net. Thanks.